Traders, how are you? Marcello, founder of the Day Trading Academy. Today we're doing the recap of what happened in the markets last week. First of all, I want to wish you a very, very, very Merry Christmas. Whatever religion you guys support, I want to wish you the best in that religion as well. Happy New Year for all of you guys. Just kind of reflect every year. You know, we've had an amazing process overall this year, even over the last, I've been in this industry now almost 18 years. 6 years down here in Latin America. We just started the Philippines, Egypt, and Brazil. And it's been absolutely amazing. I would have never had that kind of success I've had without you guys, all the traders, the DTA, the guys that have been part of the process, the guys who are part of the process now. I just want to thank you guys for everything. Other than that, U.S. market, Monday, we reached record highs. Tuesday, the S&P got to a record high again. Thursday, equities hit all-time highs again. The S&P 500 got to over 3,200 for the first time ever. And then on Friday, we also had all-time highs. And all of this basically is due to the continued optimism because of the U.S. and China trade agreement. There's technically no more trade war. We just had the phase 1 agreement and also a strength in domestic consumer spending. Remember, the economy in the United States is just about 70% consumer spending. So the better consumer spending we have, the better the economy is. The S&P 500 on Friday hit its 7th session record close. And overall for the week, the Dow 1.14% positive, S&P 500 1.64%, and the NASDAQ up 2.18%. Overseas market news on Tuesday, the main emerging market stocks index hit an 18-month high. The MSCI All Country Stock Index puts gains at 2019 at 23% and the best year in a decade and the 4th best year ever. European markets, the London FTSE had the best week. That had the best of the week, let's say. Most of them were positive at positive 3.11%. Latin America, the Merval in Argentina was the biggest winner at 5.06%. The biggest loser was Santiago at 3.15%. due to the protests and everything that's going on there. I know in the news, you know, that's one of the reasons why I don't watch the news, because they make everything outlandish, right, to get more views and more interest and more clicks. So when I tell you guys, the protests here in Colombia really are not that bad. They might go and, you know, for an afternoon, or they might schedule a day, but so far hasn't been that bad at all. In Africa and the Middle East, markets are mixed. The only loser was Nigeria, very, very small loser, about 0.04, 0.06. The biggest winner was Egypt at 3.59%. And then in the Far East and Asia and the Australian markets, the Nikkei was the biggest winner at 3.45%, and the Philippines at negative 1.88%. In Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency news, Bitcoin dropped to a 3-week low this week, 0.24% negative at about $7,206.45. And breaking news, we have 10 days. Bitcoin still is not going to get to 50K this year. Just FYI, in case you guys were still kind of listening to the analysts that were saying that they were going to get there. That's sarcasm for those of you guys that are listening to the podcast. U.S. Fed Governor Lael Brainard says that Facebook's project, the Libra, still has a core set of legal and regulatory challenges, as well as how it's an explanation in terms of how it's going to be tied to a basket of underlying assets and consumer protections as well. So they don't have a very good road ahead of them, let's say. And it's something that I told you guys. I think the Libra project is amazing. It's a good concept. But as I told you guys before, and this is one of the reasons why I'm not in agreement with what most people say what cryptocurrencies are going to be, like the new financial system. I just don't believe that the government and the people who control the world are going to let go of that control, which is the financial system, to a completely decentralized one that nobody controls. So that's why, Bitcoin might still exist, other cryptos as well, but it's not going to be what everybody else is saying that it is, right? The crypto fanatics, so to speak. Blockchain will revolutionize everything, though, that definitely. In financial and banking news, Credit Suisse is saying that it's insisting that the Fed has launched the fourth round of QE money printing with the problems in the overnight lending markets reemerge. It's forcing the central bank into more aggressive actions by creating digitally created money, by using that to buy the bonds from big financial institutions. The pound had its worst week in over 2 years after falling 2.4%. After renewed worries about the UK leaving Brexit, now that Prime Minister Johnson got the biggest majority since Thatcher decades ago, they're definitely going to leave the EU now. So they're going to leave in 2020. So we'll see. I'll give you guys an updated when that happens. Argentina's lower house on Friday approved a sweeping bill with economic measures, including a lot of tax hikes proposed by the new government, Alberto Fernandez. You guys got to roll the R's when you speak Spanish. Fernandez. Including many tax hikes. Cornerstone of his left-to-center governing program. He wants higher taxes on grain exports, personal property, and foreign assets held abroad. The measure is now going to move to the Senate. If you guys don't remember, or if you don't know because you don't follow the emerging economies outside of the U.S. or other major economies, they've already tried this before, and it was an utter failure. So this is one of the things that, you know, on these programs, this series that I always do for you guys, I'm never going to get political, right? So if you guys believe in the left, right, center, you love Obama, you hate Trump, you love Trump, you hate Obama, it doesn't matter. I just want to present to you the facts. And even though this president leans left, he's not conservative, he's more liberal. What they have already tried to do, his plan, economic plan and plan for the country has already been tried. This is why Argentina has the economic crisis every 10 years, because they don't learn from their mistakes. They voted the left essentially, or the center left, or you know what they call Peronism, of the last 70 years, probably, if I remember off the top of my head, anywhere between 13 of the last 16 presidents, something like that. Far majority, more than 90%. And the country has not improved. Yet the people still believe, the population in Argentina still believe that they can get something for free. And it's a good lesson, because for those of us that are, you know, there's a reason what I'm trying to say is I've traveled around the world for over 10 years now. I think it's 10, 11 years. And the U.S. still, by far, is the best country in the world, no matter what you're comparing it to. The things I've seen are horrible, but we have a lot of opportunity in the U.S., and there's a reason why there has been so much economic growth, and the U.S. has provided so much for the world. I finished my rant. Let's continue. Erdogan, the president of Turkey, saying that its central bank is going to cut its rates by next year. Right now it's at 12%, and he wants to be able to go ahead and cut that to support the growth in the Turkish economy. In commodities, U.S. crude went down 0.48%. International Brent went down 1.27%. Russia and Ukraine have agreed in principle to a new agreement on the gas that's going through Ukraine to Europe. They provide 36% of the EU's gas market. That's what they use to literally stay warm in those winters. Precious metals are higher for the week as well. Gold went up 0.16%, while silver went up 1.53%. Those miners that I showed you guys before, I was able to close another position with profit this week. And the precious metal palladium pushed through 2,000 an ounce to an all-time high. The metal extended a powerful annual advance, driven by a global deficit of the metal, and some are saying that it might go as high as 2,500 or higher, as that there's a shortfall in the metal, but there's not enough to go around, let's say. That's going to be extremely hard to fill. Political news, Trump became the third president in the history of the United States to be impeached by the United States House of Representatives. The vote was along party lines, which means that all the Republicans voted against it, all of the Democrats voted for it, and they pushed it with dubious articles. There's some people that are saying that he didn't do anything wrong, and what they're trying to charge him for is completely false. That's what they're saying. And some are saying that the effort will fail in the Senate because the way that the impeachment works is the House of Representatives gathers all the information, the witnesses, everything, and then they present it to the Senate, and then the Senate approves it or denies it. So they're thinking that they're just going to get acquitted in the Senate. He's charged with abuse of power and obstruction of justice. Will likely benefit Trump politically as more voters now seem to oppose the effort, and it may help him get reelected and have the Republicans retake the House in 2020. In economic news, recent data suggested that German factories are finally exiting a year-long slump. There was a contraction, a pretty significant contraction. Remember, Germany is the fourth largest economy in the world, the largest in Europe. It's United States, China, Japan, Germany, if I'm not mistaken. And Germany is incredibly important to the global economy and I'm thinking in Spanish. I was going to say the richness, la riqueza. Remember the roll your R's, riqueza. The wealth in Germany has been created mainly from manufacturing. So a dip in that harms the country quite a bit. So the German business morale rose by more than expected to a 6-month high, further sign that Europe's largest economy showing resilience overall, but relying increasingly on stronger domestic spending with record high unemployment and higher demand in the construction sector. The UK economy grew at its slowest pace in nearly 7 years. It only grew by 0.3% in the Q3, and the country's account deficit shrank to the smallest since 2012. Americans filing for unemployment benefits dropped from over a 2-year high last week, decreasing 18,000 to a seasonally adjusted 234,000, pointing to a sustained labor market in the U.S. and the economic growth in the United States. The United States confirmed the government that it was at 2.1% for Q3. So compared to other countries, the U.S. is doing pretty well. In corporate news, the shares of Boeing are down 4%, reporting on they're going to suspend production on the 737 MAX in January. They failed to meet their own deadline for submitting the recertification of the plane. And it's going to put a lot of pressure on all the airlines due to the fact that the carriers are already paying higher rates to lease planes to be able to service their customers. Tesla stock passed 400 on Thursday, a culmination of a late year rally beginning in October, surprised investors with a profit in Q3. The shares are up 30% in 2019 and now worth $72 billion. And U.S.-based drugstore Rite Aid crushed earnings estimates for Q3. The stock soared 46% virtually overnight to $12.44. They cited prescription growth, improved drug costs, and also expense control. Shares of Netflix have gone up by over 24% this year and 4,100 since 2009, making it the S&P 500's top performer over the last 10 years. Although now the company faces some pretty serious competition, and now there's a lot of questions whether it can survive its rapid user growth now that a lot more people are going against it, especially more than anything Disney Plus, because they took all of their movies away from the platform. In trade news, as part of the Phase 1 deal, which is likely going to be signed the first week of 2020, China's top agricultural consultancy says that China will make good on making sure that they buy $40 billion of the agricultural products a year, even though a lot of analysts are remaining skeptical because they don't seem to honor their agreements when they say they're going to do something. And in Mexico, they're protesting a call for up to 5 U.S. attaches being connected to track the enforcement of labor laws and ensure compliance of the newly ratified USMC, which is the replacement to NAFTA, the free trade agreement between Canada, the United States, and Mexico. The original draft that Mexico agreed to and signed did not have this percentage. And one of the things that's really interesting about this, whether you agree or not with what Trump is doing, many people don't realize that Canada, for example, had up to 200% taxes on dairy products from the U.S. entering Canada. So those taxes, for example, those levies, those literally taxes that Canada charged on U.S. dairy to limit it from coming into the country are now gone, or they should be gone. If you guys don't know more details, leave it there in the comments and I'll read them. Technology self-driving revolution is taking shape in California. It approves a variety of autonomous vehicles to be tested on the roads, including small to mid-sized trucks and vans. 65 firms have permits for the autonomous vehicle testing, but only one firm, which is Google's Waymo. Google, just so you know, there's a parent company called Alphabet, has attained a license, the only one to attain a license to test a fully driverless vehicle. So the other ones, they have a permit, but they have to have a driver to be able to make sure that they're there in case of any emergency. U.S. tech firms Apple, Google, Amazon, and also Zigbee Alliance are now in a new partnership called Project Connected Home over IP. It's a move to create a new standard to be able to make sure that the fragmented ecosystem, which is for smart home products, are going to work seamlessly with each other. And investment news, Italy's Fiat Chrysler and France's Peugeot are reaching a new agreement to have a $50 billion merger that's going to reshape the car industry and create the fourth largest car manufacturer in the world. Very challenging in France and Italy due to the fact that they have very strong labor unions, that they're worried about job losses, that the firm is going to employ over 400,000 people. U.S. home building more than expected in November. The permits for future home construction surged to a 12.5-year high. Lower mortgage rates continue to boost the housing markets, providing support for the overall economy. If I remember the number correctly, the new home building overall supports, if I remember the number, because I looked this up and I shared this with you before, anywhere between 15 to 20% of the overall U.S. economy, not just the materials themselves, but the support economy around, you know, the administrators, all that of the new building. So it affects quite a bit the economy. Foreign investors are continuing their longest record in buying Chinese stocks this year, particular tech shares. Almost $27 billion so far in 2019, increasing bets on mainland markets. Obviously, this is a result from the trade war. The tech sector, which was already facing selling pressure last year, is now at freshly new highs. There's now protests that are starting in India as well over a new citizenship law. India, what they want to do is provide everybody except Muslims the opportunity to get citizenship in India if you're from a minority religious group like Christians or Hindus, for example. The neighboring countries, which are mostly Muslim, or majority Muslim, I should say, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Afghanistan, are not happy about it because they're saying that they're going to create a refugee crisis in regards to that new law. And a new proposal by China and Russia to ease United Nations sanctions on North Korea are allowing more exports and also trying to ease the restrictions on infrastructure projects and North Koreans working overseas. It increases the pressure on the United States that likely signals an end to the unified efforts to persuade North Korea to give up its growing nuclear and missile arsenal. And the unusual facts this week, at the very top of the movie box office, Disney's Frozen 2 crossed the $1 billion milestone. It's the 6th day of the release. The 8th title of 2019 to join the $1 billion club, even though Disney overall has had $10 billion in sales in the box office. Absolutely huge record year. And Disney is also, for anybody, not just Disney, there's no other company has sold that much at the box office. They're cautiously predicting that a rather weak start of about $160 million for Star Wars, which is opening this weekend. And even though it doesn't break records, Disney is still having a record year when it comes to the movies. Desert locusts have already damaged about 70,000 hectares of crops and grazing land in Somalia. Neighboring Ethiopia, the worst invasion in 25 years, and the UN Food Agency is stating that the infestation is going to create food supply problems in both countries. Indonesia's President Joko Widodo is ordering cabinet to further speed up the $33 billion project to move the capital city from the sinking Jakarta to the forested Borneo Island, so that the new Silicon Valley-like city is going to be ready by 2023. And the U.S.-based Amazon's in-house delivery network operates 150 U.S. delivery stations, employs over 90,000 people, on track to deliver 3.5 billion packages by the end of 2019. If I remember correctly, UPS now is the biggest logistics company, you know, deliveries. After that is now Amazon. They've already overtaken FedEx, if I'm not mistaken. Look that up, because it's actually pretty interesting that they've also ordered all of their suppliers to not ship anything with FedEx. De Beers diamond sales this year fell by almost $1.4 billion, capping a troubling 12 months. They had a situation, obviously, because of the oversupply of the rough diamonds, and that is called falling prices, has affected quite a bit their bottom line. They sold $425 million this month in the last sale of 2019, bringing in almost $1.4 billion. The total for 2019 is $4 billion. The $1.4 billion is what from the previous 12 months. And that is obviously creating a lot of havoc in the diamond industry because of the prices and everything. So you guys have a great holiday season. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next week.